The story begins at Moscow airport, where we see a man named David, who is very happy. David is happy because he has just gotten a job in a foreign country and is leaving Moscow forever to go to our country. He was not alone on this journey. He was taking his pet dog, a female named Palma, with him. Before boarding the plane, an air hostess named Nina stops David. Nina checks David's ticket and all his details. After checking all of David's details, when Nina sees that David also has a pet dog, she tells him that he must show his dog's medical certificate. Only then will they allow him to board the plane. Hearing this, David starts checking his pockets. After searching his pockets, David becomes worried because he had left his dog's medical certificate at home. David tells Nina, "I left my dog's medical certificate at home. If I go back home to get it, I will miss my flight." He says, "I got a job abroad with great difficulty. If I miss this flight, I will lose my job." Hearing this, Nina tells David that there is a clinic at the airport. He must first get a medical certificate for his dog from that clinic. Only then can he take his dog with him. There was also little time left before takeoff, so David runs to that clinic. But when the doctor checks Palma there, they discover that Palma has an ear infection. Because of this, the doctor refuses to give her the medical certificate. David offers the doctor extra money for the certificate, but the doctor doesn't listen. Now, troubled, David goes back to Nina and requests that she allow Palma on the plane. "If I don't take her with me, she will be all alone here." David tells Nina, "After many hardships, I got a job abroad, and it's very important for me to go there. If I don't go, all my hard work will be wasted." David even starts touching her feet, pleading, "Please let my dog go with me." Now, when Nina looks at the dog, she feels pity in her heart and gives David permission to take his pet dog Palma. But just then, the security head arrives there. She asks Nina why the flight is being delayed. Then Nina explains David's entire situation to her. The security head says to David, "Do you think this airport is a zoo or a circus, that you can take any animal from here without permission?" She flatly refuses David, saying, "Without a certificate, you cannot take your pet dog." Now, David understands that they won't let Palma go with him without a certificate. So, out of compulsion, he decides to leave Palma there because it was very urgent for him to leave immediately. After that, he looks at Palma with sad eyes and strokes her head. Then he takes a ball out of his pocket and throws it far away. The naive Palma runs after it, and meanwhile, David runs to board the plane. When Palma returns with the ball, she sees that David is leaving her alone and boarding the plane. A little later, the plane starts moving onto the runway for takeoff. Then Palma also starts running alongside the plane because she also wants to go with her owner. When the plane doesn't stop, she runs ahead of it. Seeing Palma, the pilot stops the plane. After that, Palma starts barking. Actually, she is calling out to David to take her along. Then the passengers inside the plane also start saying that this dog wants to go with its owner. But it seems this dog has been left alone by its owner. David hears all this but remains seated quietly. Now, Palma moves to one side and comes closer to the plane. After she moves aside, the plane starts moving forward again for takeoff. Then Palma also chases the plane, hoping that David will get off the plane and take her with him. But nothing like that happens a little while later. The plane takes off and begins to soar into the sky. Here, David leaves Palma alone. Seeing David move away from her, her eyes become teary. and she is now completely alone here. A little later, a team of security guards arrives. Seeing Palma on the runway, they advance to shoot her, but Palma saves herself by running away and hides in a yard near the runway where a mechanic lives. The mechanic hides Palma in a ditch below. When the guards arrive and ask the mechanic about Palma, he doesn't tell them anything about her. After the guards leave, when the mechanic looks at Palma, he understands that she is troubled and hungry. He gives her some food and water to drink and tells her to rest there. But just then, Palma hears the sound of a plane. Hearing the plane's sound, she runs back towards the runway. Standing in the middle of the runway, she thinks David has come back to get her. Meanwhile, we now see a scene inside a plane that is about to land on the runway shortly. A pilot named Victor is flying. His son Tom is on the plane too. Tom is 8 years old. Here we also see a minister who is coming to Moscow with some friends. When pilot Victor lands the plane on the runway, he sees Palma ahead on the runway and aborts the landing, taking the plane back up. As the plane goes up, the passengers inside experience a jolt, and during this jolt, the minister drops his wine. Seeing this, the minister becomes very angry. A little later, the plane finally lands. Then the security head stands on the stairs to welcome the minister. But because of the bad landing, the minister becomes very angry with her. He scolds the security head, saying, "Somehow get this dog out of here." Palma stands near a plane. She watches all the passengers getting off carefully. And as always, she still hoped today that David would come to get her. But the poor thing doesn't know that David has left her here forever. Just then, guards arrive who start trying to catch Palma, and they finally manage to catch her somehow. They tell everyone, "We have orders to shoot her." All this is seen from above by the pilot Victor's son, Tom. The security guards catch Palma and lock her in a bus. Just then, Nina and the mechanic also arrive. Both of them tell the guard to let Palma go, but they don't listen to a word they say. Seeing all this, Tom feels pity for Palma. After that, he secretly enters the bus and opens the gate. As the gate opens, Palma runs away. The guards become very angry at Tom's action. They advance to hit him. But just then, Victor arrives and tells the guard, "He is my son. I will handle him. You leave." Hearing Victor, the guards leave. Meanwhile, the security head scolds Victor badly for the terrible landing. She says, "If that dog came in front of you, you should have run it over on the runway." To which Victor replies, "If I had done that, the plane could have flipped due to the high speed. That's why I didn't do it." But the security head doesn't care. She tells Victor, "Because of this terrible landing, you will not get an international flight license now." Hearing this, Victor feels very bad because flying an international flight was his dream. Now Victor tells her, "After my wife's death, my son and I are in quite a shock. So my son is very troubled, and because of this, I can't concentrate on my work." Now, hearing Victor's words, the security head understands Victor's problem and apologizes to him. Finally, telling him, "In a few months, you will have your first international flight. You must be ready for it." She sends him off. Victor is happy to hear this and goes home happily. Now night falls. Victor and his son Tom shift to their new house. But from their conversations, we learn that they don't get along very well. Tom doesn't like his father much because, due to his job, he couldn't give much time to his mom, and Tom also feels that his mother's death happened because of him. Tom doesn't want to live here now. He wants to go back to where his mother used to live, and Tom decides that he will leave home. Now, As soon as night falls and Victor falls asleep, Tom takes advantage of the opportunity and quietly leaves home, goes straight to the airport and tries to get a ticket. But due to his young age, he doesn't get a ticket. Hearing this, Tom becomes very sad. But Tom doesn't give up. He cleverly reaches the runway and, joining a couple, starts boarding a plane. But then an air hostess sees him and stops him. However, Tom tricks her and runs away, hiding near the plane's tires. Now, he is waiting for the plane to take off so he can leave from there. But just then, Palma arrives there and starts barking at him. Actually, Palma wanted to save Tom's life because during takeoff, Tom could have fallen, and when the plane reaches altitude, the oxygen level decreases, which could cause a person's death. Now, because of Palma's barking, guards arrive there and see Tom, before the guards can catch him. He escapes and runs away. The next morning, we see Tom and Palma sleeping together. Just then, Victor arrives. He scolds Tom a lot and starts forcibly taking him home. Seeing this, Palma starts barking at Victor, causing him to step back. Now Victor is also getting late for his flight, so he tells the mechanic, "Look after my son. I will come back to get him." Saying this, he leaves. A little later, Nina arrives there, who gets angry at the mechanic because he doesn't take care of himself. Actually, they have a father-daughter relationship. Now, as they are talking, the sound of a plane is heard. Hearing it, Palma runs towards the runway again because she still thinks David has come to get her. Seeing all this, the mechanic says, "I have been noticing Palma for quite some time." She only runs towards the runway upon hearing that one particular plane sound. Here, Nina tells Tom and her mechanic father the whole story of Palma. She says, a few months ago, her owner left her here. She runs towards the runway when she sees the plane in which her owner left her because she thinks her owner will come and take her with him. Hearing all this, Tom feels even more attached to Palma. He goes to Palma and tells her, "Like you, I also miss my mother." Saying this, tears come to Tom's eyes the next day. Tom goes to an airport agent and asks for the address of Palma's owner, David, but that agent refuses to give David's address due to privacy issues. Tom tells the agent, "I just want to send a letter to David's address so he can come back and take Palma." Meanwhile, Palma, as usual, goes to that plane after it arrives and starts looking at the passengers getting off. Just then, she sees a man who looks exactly like David from behind. Seeing this, Palma thinks it is David. So Palma starts running after him, and the man goes inside the terminal to save himself from Palma. Palma also follows him inside the terminal. Meanwhile, chaos erupts among the people, and Palma breaks many things inside. Palma runs and reaches near that man. But after seeing the man, Palma realizes he is not David. Seeing this, Palma becomes very dejected, and just then, guards also arrive there. The guards, using a net, start trying to catch Palma because they were also very fed up with her by now. Just as they are about to catch Palma, Tom arrives in the meantime and tricks the guard. Once again, Palma starts running away. Tom saves Palma from the security guard and brings her to the basement. Below, just then, that agent also arrives who had refused to give David's address to Tom a little while ago. But now, taking pity on Palma, she gives Tom David's address and tells him, "Take her and leave from the back way." Now, when Victor returns from his flight, he sees international flight pilots there whose uniforms are white. Seeing this, Victor thinks to himself, "I wish I could wear that uniform one day." Victor had not yet received his international license, and he dreamed of flying international flights. Now, when Victor meets the security head, she gets very angry with Victor because his son and Palma are causing a lot of disgrace. Here, the security head tells Victor, "If you want an international flight license, you must somehow get this dog named Palma caught." Victor agrees and goes straight to the place where the mechanic and Nina live. Upon arriving, he sees that Tom, Nina, and the mechanic are all present. Victor had also brought dog snatchers with him. Seeing them, Tom shouts at Victor a lot. Nina also tries to stop them, but they don't listen to her and drag Palma away, catching her. Now seeing all this, Tom, who was already angry with his father, starts hating Victor even more. Meanwhile, Nina angrily gives Victor the letter written by Tom that he was going to send to Palma's owner, David. Now Victor takes Tom home, where we see that Tom is angry with Victor. At night, Victor reads the letter written by Tom. In it, Tom says to David, Palma's owner, "My name is Tom. I am 9 years old. I am writing from Moscow. You left Palma alone here. She comes to the runway every day waiting for you. She is very clever and smart. I don't know why, but she recognizes the sound of the plane in which you sat and left her here on the runway, and even Beth. All the plane lands, she stands on the runway looking for you and the people. I don't understand why. Despite being so intelligent, she doesn't realize that you didn't forget her but left her forever. She will wait for you until her dying breath, so please take her with you." And in the last line, Tom writes, "Whether human or animal, the pain of being abandoned is felt by all." Now, after reading this letter, Victor realizes his mistake and starts thinking that he shouldn't have separated Tom and Palma. And just then, he sees Tom going out of the house alone. He understands that Tom is going to save Palma, so he stops his car near Tom and tells him, "Come on, we will both save Palma." Hearing this, Tom becomes very happy, and they both get in the car and set off to save Palma. Meanwhile, on the other hand, we see Palma, who cleverly opens her cage herself and also frees some of her other companions. After that, all her companions become free. When these people reach the dog shelter, Nina is also there, and Nina tells them that Palma has already run away from here. These people understand where Palma would be after the night passes. These people come to the airport in the morning and see Palma running from afar, seeing her coming towards them. Tom becomes happy, but Palma once again looks for her owner among the people getting off that plane. But this time too, she becomes sad because David was not on that plane either. Now Victor understands that Palma is in trouble, so he thinks of helping Palma. He calls a reporter and gets her photo published in the newspaper so that this news reaches Palma's owner, David, and he comes to get her. Time passes in this way. The friendship between Tom and Palma deepens. Also, the closeness between Tom and Victor begins to increase. But Palma's eyes were still moist. Slowly, months and years change. But she was still waiting, hoping that one day David would get off that flight and take her with him over time. Every city dweller in Moscow learns that a female dog named Palma is waiting for her owner at the airport. Palma becomes famous among people. People take photos with her, and every person in Moscow gets to know Palma. Now, we see that minister whom we saw at the beginning of the story. He has also learned that Palma has become quite famous among people, so he wants to use Palma's story for his benefit. When the minister arrives, he praises Victor because Victor had gotten Palma's photo published in the news and had taken care of Palma. The minister calls all the media and announcers, Whoever and wherever Palma's owner is, please come and take Palma with you because Palma has been waiting for her owner for many years. The minister is doing all this to prove himself a hero among the people. Along with this, the minister also approves Victor's international flight license. On the minister's orders, a cage is built near the runway where Palma will be kept. But Palma is still not happy. A few days later, Palma stops eating and drinking, and she gradually becomes weak. One day her condition becomes so bad that a doctor has to be called for her. The doctor says that Palma is very depressed. She won't get better until David comes, and if this continues, Palma will die soon. Hearing all this, Tom becomes sad. One night when it is raining, Tom comes to Palma and sees that she is sitting outside, feeling cold. Tom tells Palma, "Come home with me. If you stay here, your health will get worse." But Tom's words have no effect on Palma because Palma was now completely broken and ready to die. Then Tom cries in front of her, folding his hands. He says, "Come with me. You will die here." He says angrily, "Why does everyone want to leave me? Do you also want to leave me like my mother did? If so, I won't let you do that." Tom takes off his jacket and puts it over Palma and sleeps there with her in the rain. When morning comes, Tom sees that Palma has woken up, and Tom tells her once again, "Come home with me." And this time, Palma trusts Tom's friendship. So she goes home with him, where Nina and her mechanic father also are. They all feed her well. But perhaps Tom's happiness was not meant to last long because Victor receives a call informing him that David is coming back to get Palma. Hearing this, everyone becomes very sad because no one wanted Palma to go away from them now. But they are helpless. So, reluctantly, Tom brings Palma to the airport where David also arrives by plane, and the minister is already present there. He had brought his entire press team with him so he could do a live recording of Palma's departure, and he was doing all this for his own benefit. Palma, seeing her owner David after many years, recognizes him immediately and goes to him. Her years of waiting finally come to an end. But all this doesn't sit well with Tom at all because Tom had started loving Palma immensely. Tom starts to leave sadly, and Victor can't bear to see his son's sadness. He takes David aside and offers him some money, saying, "Give Palma to us." To which David says, "I also don't want to take Palma, but I am compelled because if I don't take Palma from here, the minister will get my foreign job revoked." And here we learn the whole truth about the minister. The minister has trapped David for his own benefit. A little while later, David boards the plane with Palma. But when Palma looks back at David, she barks and tries to free herself because now she wants to stay with Tom. But just then, a guard catches her and forcibly puts her back on the plane. The pilot of the plane in which Palma is being taken today is Victor. Victor was wearing a white suit today, which meant that Victor was going to fly an international flight for the first time, and Victor's dream of many years was about to come true. But here comes the biggest twist of the story, when Victor sits in the plane's cabin and looks down at his son Tom. Tom is very sad. Therefore, Victor refuses to fly the plane. Here, pity for Palma has now awoken in the security head's heart as well. She tells one of her air hostesses, "Go and ask David for Palma's medical certificate." That is, the starting scene of the story is repeated when the air hostess asks David for Palma's medical certificate. Obviously, he doesn't have it, which meant that now Palma would not be allowed to go with David. Hearing this, the minister shouts at the security head, "Why are you doing this drama?" But the security head says, "These are the rules we made, and we must follow them." Hearing all these things, David looks at Palma. Seeing Palma's sad face, David understands that Palma no longer wants to be with him and that she will be happy with Tom. After this, David removes the leash from Palma's neck and tells her, "Go, live your life." Now Palma starts running from there and runs straight to Tom. They hug each other upon seeing one another, and seeing this, everyone becomes very happy. In the end, just understand this, people change. But when a dog gives its heart to someone, it remains theirs for its entire life. With this, the story ends. If you liked this video, please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like the video.